I like it. All right. Is everybody feeling good?
Yep, we got it.
Okay, fantastic. Welcome back, friends and players. I'm so happy to be together again. Another episode and another chance for a little you and I time, but it's not going to be just you and I this week. It's you, I, and Joshua O'Connell from Know Your Slots. Hey, before we get to him, I don't want to keep him waiting too long. He's right here with us, but I just have to send a special AITG thank you to everybody who's jumped on the Art in the Game hotline, the players hotline, and of course, a very special thank you to every single one of you who have gone ahead and made a financial contribution to the Art and Game podcast. I absolutely thank you. All right, now without further ado, Joshua O'Connell from KnowYourSlots.com. Welcome to the Art in the Game. Welcome back to the Art in the Game podcast, Josh.
Thanks for having me back, and as your first guest, as part of the sort of revival in 2022, welcome back to you as well. It's great to see you back in the saddle and doing this once again.
Thanks for saying that, pal. You've been a great supporter of the Art in the Game show for a long time, and your support today means even more to me. I'll tell you, it's been a long 6 months. I kind of bared my soul in the last episode, kind of let everybody know where my mind was at, what happened, and more importantly, that I'm ready to lean forward and step into 2022, create some awesome casino adult content, and really, I'm excited for what the year has to bring, both of us.
Absolutely, and those listening may not know this, but we obviously were. Some of you were participating with us in the Clubhouse conversations that we had last year, which we were doing on the app, and we'll be doing a little bit of that again this year. So that's exciting. But also, we had a chance to finally meet in person during the hiatus, and we got to meet a week after my birthday at Springfield. Got to play some video poker for quite a while. Chris got to see me have one of my most successful nights in the casino in a very long time, so that was also a good positive. So that was great.
Josh was crushing it the entire time. It was like I'm sitting next to him and all he does is pull jackpots. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys have ever had one of those opportunities to gamble with a pal and you're just hitting the bricks and your friend, all he can do is just kit, hand pays, and jackpots. That was at least my experience. Boy, I think Josh's was a little bit better, but I must tell you, buddy, sitting down, just chumming it up together, having that gambling talk, that camaraderie, that's what I missed. And it was great to be with you, Josh, man. Thanks for bringing that up. That was a good visit. What was that, back in August already?
That was July, even further back.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Holy cow. No, we have a good time, and that's one of the things I guess that all brings us together. And I think one of the things that brings you and I together is we kind of like that treatment, and we're always looking for, the best treatment that we can get. And I think that's one of those other things, and probably one of the things that brings a lot of our listeners to the podcast, because they're looking for that kind of a treatment as well.
Absolutely.
We've had a few different things happen in the industry, and it has been it's been a bit of a tumultuous time with all of the changes in these player loyalty programs. We had Caesars go through some huge changes, and today we are recording on the 6th of January 2022, and Joshua O'Connell and I are here to really get you all into casino shape for 2022. Especially, I think tonight's conversation is going to focus on these enormous Mlife changes, Josh.
Exactly. And actually, transparency being what it was, we actually did a version of this a couple of days ago, thinking that we had enough to work with to sort of get the ball rolling. And so much information came out in just a 48-hour window. They launched sort of a marketing site. They put out their official press release. And then all sorts of other details sort of flowed out that actually offered a much more complete picture of what's happening. The good news is what looked very difficult in the original pass and what was available now looks much more balanced. There's some good, there's some bad. You're going to expect that with any tier program changes. I would say that on balance, a lot of it's pretty exciting, especially for those of you who have status. And so, some of the things we've talked about, especially up in our area, Chris, with Springfield, is like, where's some of those special benefits that we used to have? Where's the lounge? Where's, there was a question of like, what about the cashier special line for platinum members and so forth, right? And a lot of these changes, I think, start to address how they can reward their upper tier players in a more consistent way with actual items that have real cash value to them. Whether you're talking about a celebration dinner, whether you're talking about resort fee waivers, these are things that actually will save players money. So for the money you're investing into Mlife, now MGM Rewards, which we'll talk about as the new name, you're going to now actually have something you can put a value against, which isn't necessarily what you could have done with MGM in the past.
Sure. No, you're giving away all the good stuff right in the beginning. You hear that, guys? Everyone's like, yeah, keep going, Josh. Just let him keep talking, Chris. No, there's a lot of great changes that are coming. And when I say great, first of all, I just want to let everyone, Josh is right. We totally did an hour-plus conversation the other night. We finished the conversation. I looked at my email, and there was the update from MGM. I was just like, oh, this is perfect. I sent Josh a message. I said, I don't even want to read this thing into the morning. Let's just read it in the morning. And Josh was really good about kind of digging up a bunch of new information that we're about to share with you guys. And the more information that he dug up, I think the more he and I both realized we got to scrap the whole episode. Yeah. Let's come back at it. And hey, that's podcast life, right? That's what it's all about, creating this type of content. It's a fluid conversation. That's why Josh and I are on the beat.
Well, more importantly, and you understand this as much as I do, Chris, shame on us for trying to get ahead of our schedules and actually record things more than 24 hours in advance. God forbid you actually prep content ahead of time so that way you can stay on top of things, and then you just get bit every single time. But at least we have the opportunity to do this again, and I'm excited to take a more complete dive now. So
hey man, it's like the Fly By My Seat Productions once again, but that's all fun. And hey, you mentioned something too right in the intro here, and I want to just take a moment and rewind really quick. A special shout out to all of our Clubhouse family, all of our friends and players, participants in the Clubhouse room. Thanks for bringing that up, Joshua. We've had so many great conversations on Thursday nights. Usually Thursday night at 6, they run into like 7:30, and we stop them. Or it's my fault, guys. Josh wanted to keep going. I stopped them. And I think if Josh can, maybe a week from today, maybe next Thursday night, we could get you on Clubhouse. And if not another night, we'll invite all of our friends. I want to get our pals from LinkedIn, all of our industry friends, all of our player friends. Let's get everybody back on stage again. What do you think? Do you think we could squeeze that in?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
Even if you're in Vegas, you're gonna. Yes, that's what Josh is a committed player and a committed content creator. He's like, I'll do it from the slots, Chris, if I have to.
You're very appropriate. Hey, we had that 1 week where Carol Ann was actually giving us some hot tips from the slot machine, if you remember.
I think we had 2 different players in the room one night. One was in Vegas, and I don't remember. I think the other was in maybe at Mohegan or Foxwoods. And everybody's when they would come in, you would hear the background. I mean, it was really, those are fun conversations, and they're really loose. And everybody, Art in the Game members, all of our listeners, all of our Know Your Slots followers, you're all welcome. There's no entry fee. There's no ticket price. All you have to do is just join Clubhouse. Anybody can join and follow. It's Club Casino. That's our club inside of there. So you just join Club Casino, and you'll see that we're doing an event. And I also post a link to the events usually in our private community on Facebook and up on Twitter as well. So you guys will know what's happening. And I'll put one up on LinkedIn because it's funny how, Josh, we have like a group of followers that are industry people that if I don't post on LinkedIn, they might not see it. But then if I don't post over here, oh my God, it's exhausting with all these feeds. But we got to do it. We've kind of put together in the past couple of years here a neat reach and a fun audience. Because to me, as I mentioned on social media earlier, the operators, the players, we all kind of battle in a way, right? We're after the comps, they're after our money, but we're all in this together at the end. And with all of these changes that are happening right now in our business, we're going to have to get through these changes. And it's important for the players and the operators to realize we're all in this thing together.
100%. And I think, when it's done right, it's a symbiotic relationship between the player and the company, right? Whether it's the casino, I mean, honestly, and this is talking about reward programs in general, right? Whether it's Marriott and getting your points that you can get free rooms, right? Whether it's McDonald's and they have actually their own rewards program now, right? So you get your free Big Mac, you're investing in a program, and so what you just want to feel that there's a respectful back and forth there, right? That your investment, especially when you're talking about casinos, when gambling can be a very expensive hobby, that you are valued and that you are able to take advantage of these perks if you're a high tier player and that you've invested quite a bit of time and energy and money on their properties. And so
Absolutely.
So, I think that there's some really good changes in here. There's definitely some setbacks for certain players. But I think in balance, there's definitely quite a bit of interesting things here, and that players will just need to evaluate like anything else, whether this still is the program for them, right? Because this is not the only program. There are more programs coming out. And that might be a topic for another day, but there are more national programs coming out. So it may just be adjusting where your investment is going forward. But if you like what MLife is doing, then you don't have to change your investment at all.
And it is exactly how we look at it. It's kind of like an investment in our future recreation. I think about even vacations that I'm going to be taking, say a few months ahead of some of the play that I'm going to be offering, because I know that when I take that trip, I'm going to want that certain level of treatment. And I know I have to kind of offer that action, be able to kind of unlock that stuff when I get to where I'm going. So you're right. We as players, we do, and I know the operators listening to the show, value that. We look at every dollar, especially that we play on the tables or whatever, however you want to call it, put it on the layout. And when we're getting a hamburger or a steak or a bottle of wine or a delicious cocktail, all of that to us, we're counting and we're trying to find the most advantaged way to spend that money so we can ascend in these player loyalty programs, no matter where it is.
Exactly.
And gang, just so you're clear, right? I mean, you guys remember Josh. I'm like I'm constantly like he's in my mind all the time. I follow him on Twitter, and that's how I found Josh. He has like every single day he posts something. And before we jump in, I have a couple things to say. Number one, the reason that Josh knows so much about all these places is, I mean, he just got back. He did a 21-day trip out to Vegas. I don't even know how many days and how many different properties he stayed in, but he's probably stayed in more casino properties than almost anybody I know in the last, in the last 10 months, maybe I would say. So he's been there. And to me, that makes that's pretty darn good, Josh. I appreciate the value. I know you do the hard work for all of us, buddy.
I do what I can, and I try to look at it from the player's point of view too, right? You get all these information and, the stuff that we're going to be working through came from press releases and marketing materials. But like at the end of the day, it really just matters what's the player impact. Like if you're playing a slot machine, how do you make the most of your time playing on the slot machine? If you're playing games, knowing how the bets work, because sometimes there's more complicated betting strategies, right? And I think all of that's really just about, if we're a little more savvy, we can get a bit more out of our time. We can have a bit more fun. Maybe we get more comps. But at the end of the day, it's really just about putting our best foot forward when we do these things.
And speaking of putting your best foot forward when you do these things, I want to congratulate you, sir, on coming up on almost 1,000 published articles about slot machines.
So
are you like in the Guinness Book of World Records now about slot machine articles?
I don't know about that. There have been people who've been writing about this stuff a lot longer than I have, that I have a lot of respect for, especially journalists who've been publishing, their columns for 20 or 25 or 30 years. But, I definitely have made a commitment to try to post something new every single day. I thought it might be difficult. I am getting to 1,000 posts and I'm still working. So I guess it wasn't as difficult as I thought. But, I've definitely broadened the topics over time. I talk about cruises a lot more, for instance, but that's something I actually discovered after I started the site. So just, some of it's just personal experience that bleeds through,
Yeah, we'll definitely have to get you back on. I've been following you on social media. I saw some of the beautiful cruises that you went on. Boy, a lot of our friends are going. Friends and players are taking cruises. They're shoving off, anchors away. Boy, I mean, Carol Ann just got back with a couple of folks. Mm-hmm. Oh boy, those gets my juices flowing, I gotta say. So that there it is, gang. I wanted to just kind of give you a little background, just in case you forgot. And of course, we're gonna plug it, but always make sure you're following Josh on Know Your Slots on Twitter, and of course, you can sign up for his newsletters that come out every day on his website and on Facebook as well. And I always stay in touch with him on that. So what do you say, Josh? Let's take a look at this. Let's jump in. The lion roared. Things are different. What are we going to do? Let's start off. First of all, it's not MLife anymore, is it?
No, we're now MGM Rewards, which was probably one of the most expected changes. Years ago, there was a goal of not having the brand be the same as the company. So Caesars had Total Rewards. It wasn't Caesars Rewards. It was Harrah's Rewards, then it was Total Rewards, then it was Caesars Rewards, right? So they kind of went in and out and in. And so MGM kind of went the same way, right? So they went to MLife and had this different brand, but now they're bringing it back around and sort of concentrating on the core brand. So the other thing is that one of the biggest questions was MLife has always had this weird two bucket system. They had express comps, which was your comp dollars, and then they had the points, which was either more comps or free play. The good news is they're not changing that. They're changing the names, but they're not changing the two buckets. So express comps will now be called MGM Reward Points. So the one that wasn't called points is now called points, and the one that was called points will now be called.
It's now called slot dollars.
Slot dollars. Now, the small change there is that you can't redeem them for comps anymore. They are designed to truly be free play, with the exception of Empire City in New York, which I guess doesn't have that capability or something, so you can use it as comps. So there's this weird exception, but for the most part, it's just slot dollars now. But I think that'll actually make it a bit clear. You have your comp bucket, you have your slot dollars bucket, and never the twain shall meet, right? But the fact that they're maintaining 2 buckets is nice, because there was questions about whether they would do away with one or combine them, and so they clearly have not decided to do that. So the foundation of the program, like that, is not changed. The tiers, there's 5 tiers. The names have not changed, right? So you still have Sapphire, Pearl, Gold, Platinum, Noir. Noir is still invitation only. Even the earnings levels are the same, with the exception of Pearl got reduced by 20% down to 20,000 points. So if you're a lower level player, Pearl may be more achievable for you now than it was in the past. So that's kind of cool. The tier year remains the same as what they did in 2020 when they officially moved to a calendar year, January 1st to December 31st. Like Caesars, they've got that 1 month sort of overlap period where you keep your status in January, and then they make the determination of what your status will be for the following year on February 1st. All of that's still the same. One weird quirk of them waiting till February 1st to launch this is if you play at an MGM property in January, you are earning for both this year and next year. So you get an extra month to earn for your towards your 2021 bucket for your 2022 status. So if you weren't quite there, if you didn't quite get there, and you can get over to MGM, you can clinch the deal and get your tier. And you might decide that's helpful based on what you hear in the next few minutes about what they're adding to the tier programs. And there are definitely new perks being added to most of the upper tiers.
And in the way that these, it's funny, I already want to call them express comps. So the way that the MGM rewards points work, that's a little bit new too. And I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, Josh. You're actually able to earn those for non-gaming spend, which is also kind of new, because express comps were really based only on play, and they're willing to give you, these reward points for, both gaming and non-gaming spend on property.
So the official word is that not only will you be able to earn it on non-gaming spend, so hotel, food and beverage, it works like a 1% rebate. So you get 1 point for every dollar spent, and the value is 1 cent. So it's like a 1% rebate that matches what Caesars does. So you're going to hear me say that a few times. There's clearly steps that they took here to equalize it against Caesars, to have a leg up against Caesars, which I think is smart. But yeah, so not only non-gaming spend, but they confirmed that table game players, which according to their press release did not earn it, will now be able to earn them. There is a caveat, and this was something that we noticed in the program terms sort of warning that they had in the Mlife-Cycle that started this whole ball rolling. They could cap table games players. So those who play too much, or maybe they decide that they don't want to, maybe it's an advantage player, they don't want to comp like that, they can cut them off. But it seems like for most table games player now, they have this ability to earn these points based on their bet size, how long they play, just like, the tier credits. So that's exciting as well. So there's a much broader way of earning these points, which can then be used for self-comping, which is great.
And if up until this program, really the only way to earn at least express comps at table games was not to be playing in Vegas. It was really only the regional properties. So one of the things that I've kind of noticed about this changeover is they've kind of smoothed over all of the, if you're to the right, you're like this. If you're to the left, you're like this. It's kind of made everything a little bit more easier, a little bit more equal. So I like, in a way, I guess I kind of like that. It makes it a little bit more understandable about what we're doing.
Yeah, I think the regional properties on the East Coast in particular were the guinea pigs for exploring like what can become the national program, right? You earned express comps in a more generous way because of the competition. You earned you earned tier credits at a slower pace, but it was much more predictable. Some of these things that are happening now, I think just they're realizing that, hey, we're doing well on the East Coast, we can make this work everywhere. But I think that also that meant some of the improvements that they made, things that treated us better on the East Coast, is now cascading out. And then there's some brand new ideas too. So I think, yeah, I think that's correct. Now we're gonna finally have a national program that works like a national program. The one that you could say all sorts of bad things about Caesars and their program, but you knew if you walked into a Caesars property exactly what to expect. It was consistent across the board, and so that. There's something to be said about that consistency that'll be great to have with Mlife that we just simply did not have in the past. You had to sort of know the differences and understand, like, oh, well, if I play in Vegas, I earn tier credits faster. So, presumably those things will also get smoothed out over time as well.
It's funny. I want to touch back to what you were saying about the limit for table players, but before we go there, that's always been kind of like the the lore right around our circles is you got to make your annual trip to Vegas if you're an MGM player, so you can really leapfrog up these tier credits, because it's the only place you're getting 25 tiered, or at least you were getting a large tier credit purchase or earned during your non-gaming spend. So this might change that a little bit, which I'm sure is by design, knowing how things are with travel and things like that. So I think that's also kind of an interesting thing.
Should we talk about that one? Well, since you just started to hit on the non-gaming spend, because like that's a pretty big change.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
So they used to give you for non-gaming spend 25 tier credits per dollar in Vegas, 8 tier credits per dollar outside of Vegas. So Springfield, Borgata, etc. It's now being normalized, but it's going even lower. 4 tier credits per dollar for non-gaming spend across the board. So that hurts. If you are not, it hurts with an asterisk. If you were one that had to pay for your hotel rooms, if you were not getting free room offers, if you were not getting resort credits to pay for your food and beverage, which many players are, so this may not impact them as badly, then you're going to take a hit. If you were spending a lot of money on their properties, I certainly have seen examples of people who got platinum on spend, and
Yes.
so
I know many.
That will certainly hurt those players, and this is why I said for some players this will be a bigger hit than others, and so you just need to understand the changes and how they impact you personally, and whether so for me, I go to Vegas with an offer that includes resort credit, which includes free play. The rooms are free, the resort fees are waived, so some of the benefits are sort of a neutral change for me because I'm not spending hundreds of dollars and getting those tier credits. I was earning them through gambling and other methods. So that's part of what you have to understand, and so that's why I said there's pros and cons to what they've done here.
Yep. No, that's good. That's a good explanation, because for me, it can help me because I have trips where I'm not heavy gaming if I'm with my daughter and we're doing like an away trips, especially that at Caesars, where I might spend really heavy on property, spend dinners and shopping, and oh my God, we kind of go crazy while we're down there. And I do really, like, you don't get to earn tier through non-gaming spend at the Caesars program, but with MGM you do actually earn tier with the spend, and to see that they're giving you the rewards credits too on top of that, that's it kind of equals up.
You might pay for one of those dinners in the future instead of you having to pay out of pocket because you've built up those credits now. Yeah, that can certainly tip the scale a little bit and can offset some of the losses there for sure.
Now, I like how we're really digging into this Express Comps MGM Rewards points, because before we dive into the slot dollar point conversion, we're really kind of getting into the nitty gritty here. This is good stuff, and like Josh said, it was $8, 8 tier credits per dollar regionally, 25 tier credits per dollar. In Vegas itself. Have they really lowered? You just said they didn't really lower any of the thresholds, so we're going to be really looking for any advantage multipliers and things like that to get these scores up. Let's jump into points and slot dollars, and then we
have one more thing on MGM reward points that's probably relevant. One other change, again, it can be a negative, but I'll explain why I'm not so sure about this in a second. They used to offer, based on your tier, a earning bonus. So if you were Pearl, you earn 10% more, what used to be Express Comps, 20% on Gold, and so forth. They are eliminating that bonus on the MGM Rewards points. So so if you earned $1, you no longer get $1.10 for Pearl or $1.20 for Gold. It's just going to be $1. Now, the thing that when I start talking to people about it, a lot of the bigger players, they express challenges in being able to use that many Express Comps because they can only eat so many dinners. They can only, get so many spa treatments. Many MGM properties, you can't shop with them, right? Like that's the difference between Caesars and MGM is MGM. I think Borgata is an exception. I think in Springfield, you can go buy MGM branded merchandise in the essential store with your points, but nothing else, right? You can't buy the Nutter Butters or your Diet Dr. Pepper. No, that's too expensive. But here, please take our MGM branded shirt. We'll happily let you comp that. But that's always one of the things I found hilarious. It's like you can't have a sandwich, but you can, like from the essential shop, and you can get a sandwich from the food court. But that's okay. But be that as it may, in this case, you are going to get less. So now that can be offset by the non-gaming spend, right? You're going to get that 1% bonus, and so MGM giveth and MGM taketh away, right? But it's important to understand these things, because if you are heavily reliant on those express comps, now MGM rewards points, to self comp, you may see a reduction based on what your tier is. And so that's just something to be aware of, and that will be a change that will take effect February 1st.
How about the bonus earns on points for, the gold and the platinum as you go up? Is that still in effect?
So let's shift to the slot dollars accordingly. That
Okay.
stays the same. That bonus will continue to be offered. So if you earn, 100 slot dollars points, which is $1 in value, you'll get $1.10 for pearl. You'll get $1.20 for gold, et cetera. So you still earn at a higher rate.
So you're getting that advantage on the slot earn. And like you said earlier in the broadcast, it's only free play. That's all you're earning here on slot points. You're not going to get a sandwich. You're not going to get a dinner. It's literally free play. So it's just a bonus on your free play.
Exactly. So you'll still get that.
That's not horrible.
No.
Hey, this podcast is going better than the last one. I think the folks at MGM will much prefer the one that we're doing now compared to the one we recorded the other day.
And we've also gotten through most of the more difficult parts of the conversation. And honestly, that was most of what we knew a couple days ago, because they put up a program changes note inside. When you would log into MLife, you would see this thing, changes starting February 1st. And every single one of them was pretty much negative. And so it's like, if there's not like a positive balance to this could be a really bad change. Fortunately, they've definitely gone well above and beyond. And I think now we get to start to dive into some of that.
I like how they're like, let's just scare the shit out of everybody, and then we're gonna do some really good things, and the whole place is just gonna like exhale and be happy. And I think it worked, actually.
I'm sure the marketing department was freaking out when the bad stuff preceded the PR announcement. I just have to assume that one team got ahead of the other, or maybe the press release got delayed. You know how these things work. You're in this field like I am. But I'm sure somewhere made a mistake, and it's just unfortunately led to a couple of days of lots of confusion and frustration. And now we're able to take a more balanced approach here.
Hey, they definitely have a little bit of confusion still. I always keep the MGM Springfield promotions and entertainment. I have pages right on the artandthegame.net website, and I've been trying to update the winter promotions, and all I have is the Winning Wonderland with the dates and the 750,000 and the nice BMW, but I've got no roadmap. I've got no idea how to earn points, when my stuff is. I imagine all of this is probably I'm sorry, gang over there, you got to help us out here. It's the 6th of January. There's only so many days left of the month, right?
It can't just be information that's put into the offer books, because clearly those who get their offers get information about what's on Monday, what's on Tuesday, right?
Yes.
But if you haven't been in a while and you're not getting offers right now, or maybe you don't reach the threshold to get those emails, because it's not even going out in print, right? It's going to your email, or worse, Yahoo or Gmail decides this is junk and we're just going to hide this from you, right? Which happens to a lot of us too. You want to be able to find that information on the website. So fingers crossed, in the new year they can get more on top of it. It's not an MGM only problem. It's definitely a wider problem. I've seen a lot of other companies struggling with this. A lot, you can talk about the staffing shortages, whatnot, but it is something that you want to make sure that information is readily available for sure.
Well, to them, I mean, just for me, a lot of players really like these programs, and it does activate them to play. So if they know that there's maybe a multiplier, say like yesterday, if there's a Wednesday multiplier, they would be there, and they might even play a little bit harder than they did or didn't even play. So to me, It's like, you want to make the money, gang, and we want to help you make the money. That's why we're putting on these shows, right, to get to it. So speaking of the money, you were just about I always cut you off, Josh. It's part of the fun of the show. We were diving into, so we used to call them, what were they called? They were called MGM loyalty points, right? And now they're called slot dollars.
Well, they were called points, and so they would talk about point play. Extend your free play with point play, right?
Yes.
So they've just renamed it to slot dollars to be more clear and sort of reduce the confusion of making a choice. I think that's fair enough, and that's transparent enough. And then one last thing: if you have express comps today, if you have points today, they will stay the same value as of February 1st under the new names. If you have 100 express comps dollars, they will still be there, just called now 100 MGM Rewards points dollars, right? So you will not lose out on any of that. It will still be available. They did say that points, the MGM Reward points may take up to 7 days to show up. I think they're doing that because of the hotel stays and the restaurant earnings, because it's not like the slot machines where they have the data instantly and can just drop it into your account. Caesars has the same problem. It takes like up to a
Yes.
week for your hotel stuff to show up. So I think that they've put that language in there just to cover their butts a little bit, so that way people aren't looking for it like an hour after they check out of the hotel. But I don't expect them to slow down like the slot deposits. It doesn't make any sense for them to do that when it already exists. So just something to be aware of.
And these, like you had said a few moments ago, this was kind of like, this was what we just told you, gang, is the tough pill to swallow. Pretty much everything after this kind of gets a little sweeter, doesn't it?
It does. And let's start with a couple of things. So we mentioned already that Pearl level players have a lower earnings
Down
ratio.
to 20%. Or
Yeah,
excuse me, down to 20%. It's
25,000
20,000.
points now, 20,000 points. So that's nice, and it definitely makes that tier more accessible. Another benefit for Pearl level players and higher is, remember that there's an expiration to your points and slot dollars after 6 months of activity at Sapphire. It used to be 12 months for Pearl and above. Now there's no expiration for Pearl and above. If you take a break,
Oh, I didn't know that. I
18
thought it was just
months
the 12. So really, it's no explanation. So that is it. That
as of February 1st, exactly.
okay.
So now you don't have to worry about those going away as long as you maintain a Pearl or above tier, which is not that difficult, especially if you have the credit card, for instance, or things like that may guarantee your tier. You're giving yourself a sort of freedom to go when you want.
Or you're a veteran. There,
Yes.
it's automatic. And I don't know if you know this, Josh. You weren't there because we weren't pals just yet. But every single attendee to my private events, at least back then, the Thanks Gambling Art in the Game, every single person who was Sapphire, they got bumped to Pearl.
Amazing. Although
So
they would probably have had to re-earn it by now, right? Because if they didn't do it for this year, then I think in February it's going to go away. So,
well, yeah. Now, hey, I'm in that boat, right? Like I'm platinum, and then now it's going away. So I got to get back in the game so I can maintain my status. I know exactly how all those people feel. I don't like this feeling. I don't. And seeing some of this stuff coming out for gold and platinum, I agree with you that it kind of reminds me of the Caesars Rewards program, because there's actually some, I know the word celebration is with Total Rewards or Caesars, but there's some, we got some things coming to us here if we can just maintain at least a gold status.
well, let's stick to Pearl for a little longer. Pearl's got something else.
Hey, I'm sorry, Pearl guys. I get excited, but you're right, Josh. There is things going on with the
They
Pearl
are now,
status.
well, yeah, they're also talking about now complimentary show tickets for certain shows for Pearl and above. So that was a Caesars Diamond perk, a third tier perk
Yes.
that actually has kind of gone away in Las Vegas, and got watered down heavily. First of all, Caesars has been shutting down a lot of his shows. One thing that's been great about MGM is they've committed to things that Caesars thinks is not worth their time anymore. Buffets, you're not going to find buffets in nearly any Caesars property anymore unless it's called the Bacchanal Buffet and it's $80. Whereas MGM has reopened most of their buffets in Las Vegas. So I think Aria might be the only one, and Mandalay Bay didn't open. I think that one closed permanently. And then Borgata reopened theirs and so forth. MGM Springfield, can you please get one? But one thing that I think has also been clear as some of this is that MGM is sort of recommitting to some of these things that are kind of traditional for a casino company, whereas Caesars is sort of really focusing on the gambling, like really focusing on the gambling.
Yes.
So taking away a lot of the
Yeah, they're still going for the entertainment. Oh, am I losing you, Josh? Jeez, I hate when.
Oh, I hear you. You're there.
Hey, we're coming through.
All right.
Hey, don't worry about it. We have the internet's just working for us. It's, you know what? They just got my Mlife credit card payment, so it's just starting to kick in.
The hands are starting to spin again. Yeah. So Pearl players and above will see a complimentary show ticket opportunity. We don't know what some of these things look like yet, right? So that's part of the challenge of doing this now instead of, say, February 1st, where we have the exact terms and conditions. But we know that this perk is now going to be part of the program.
I've got to think that is a direct answer to Mohegan Sun, because I'm a momentum player at Mohegan. That shows you how much I play right down there. And I get show tickets, and I know that a lot of people here in Springfield get show tickets, and it brings them down. I see my friends on Facebook down at shows, and I would be willing to bet that's a direct answer to that competition.
Yeah, and Mohegan Sun specifically brings in shows that are just for their casino players. And so when you get your flyer, there's a couple each month that have a logo that specifically indicates the only people who can go are invited players. And so that's how else can you sort of tell your players, we care about you so much, we're going to spend 5 figures to bring in this artist to our arena to play for you. And I've seen some really amazing concerts from those shows. So yeah, I think that's a really cool thing. Now, what we don't know, Caesars focused on Vegas, MGM could focus on Vegas, but they do entertainment across the board. So who knows? We'll see what that perk looks like. But Pearl players at least know, even that opportunity even existing now didn't exist before, and so that's very exciting.
So what else are we looking at here? Is there anything else that we can squeeze for Pearl members?
So Pearl members, I don't see anything else right now.
Okay.
But all the other stuff like the complimentary self-parking in Vegas and so forth continues to exist. So many of what I want to be careful about is that most of the existing perks that were attached to these tiers are most likely sticking around. We just don't have the new grid to work against yet. So I have complimentary self-parking on this thing I'm looking at here. So that's at least something that they've restated as a perk. So I would expect that continues, for instance.
Let's take another step up the ladder. Let's move into now MGM Rewards Gold, which I actually was one of the first because I was a credit card member when MGM Springfield opened. I kind of walked into the property at Pearl, and then I was able to earn up to gold. It was like my first earned card. I was pretty excited when I got the gold card, and it looks like there's a couple of new benefits to the gold card that I think some folks also might be. Hey, look at you, buddy.
This is me flashing my Pearl card without the expiration date on it right now.
Yeah, I got to get your picture on that. We can see if we can add something. You do that for me again? All right.
I apologize to those listening to the audio here and wondering what the heck are they doing, but I was holding up my gold card here. So there's definitely some exciting things here for gold in particular, and as the third tier usually gets a lot of treatment in these programs, it makes sense what's going on here. So the first thing is with MGM, your offer would determine whether you got resort fee waivers. So unlike Caesars, which had it as a guaranteed perk at Diamond and above, with MGM, it really was based on your gambling spend. So I, for instance, would get resort fee waivers most of the time on Luxor or Excalibur, but then less often, say, at MGM Grand, New York, Mandalay Bay. Now, as a gold member, I am guaranteed no resort fees as of February 1st. So gold members are going to get that as a guaranteed perk. The flip side to that is we don't know if that means that that's going to change it for lower level players that qualified based on gambling spend. So we'll have to see what happens to the MGM offers to see if that's taken away from them because they're now making it part of the tier program. So that could hurt lower level players that still had enough spend, on their occasional trips to Vegas. So they weren't tiering to gold, but at Pearl, they were spending enough to get those offers. We'll have to see if they're hurt or not by this change.
In my experience, if you are playing and it's an active play day or it's a 2-day period and you're getting ready to check out, no matter what card level you are, if you feel that you offered a significant amount of play, you ask to speak to a host department for them to look at your play before you check out. Doesn't matter what card level you have, you've got a chance at something you have a chance at something to happen. And to hear, quite frankly, that the resort fees it's no longer a fight. It's no longer this ridiculous thing because when your main competitor just takes care of it for Diamond, for the gold level equivalent, Diamond and up, and you're still charging it, it's a tough one. It's a lot of money when you stay a few nights, especially me, because I'll go down and I'll stay a few and then I'll stay a few more and I'll pay for some dates and then you get hit with these fees. So to see that they really did the right thing. And I don't know if you know this, but MGM Springfield actually, through the podcast and a lot of the feedback that we were able to provide them. So I think specifically me is that they got rid of resort fees for platinum card holders and up only in Springfield. This was all pre-COVID. And when I would stay there, I wouldn't pay resort fees. And if you get a comp room, there's no resort fees. And that's, there's nothing better. When I did my 12 days of Casino Christmas, that was the day one, a comp room with no resort fees.
Exactly. Well, the other thing too is that what's also good about this is this keeps the pressure now on Caesars, right? Because as the only national company that was offering that as a guaranteed perk, it would be very easy for them as they cheapened up other things to say, you know what, we're not going to guarantee this anymore. We can make a ton of money by only giving it to players that gamble enough and do the MLife model. So now this changes that. And so, we also want to be appreciative when MGM's doing something competitive that forces everybody else to stay competitive. Because resort fees was something originally that MGM did before Caesars. Caesars was advertising themselves as a no resort fee company until they rolled it out. And so now to see some parity here, I think this will stabilize things a little bit and make it a bit more of a predictable perk for some time to come.
And that's what people really want to is, at this point, why can't it's always been like, I always say, like, figuring out loyalty programs can be like driving your car by the stars. It's like, you can do, it can happen, but do you really want to do it? You know what I mean? And that's how it's nice to see that it's almost like it's lifting the veil a little bit on how this is going to work for anybody to kind of understand. And especially because one of the reasons we do what we do is to help the new gamblers, right? Because every day there are new folks discovering recreational gambling as a pastime, and you want to make it somewhat, you don't want people to say, I don't know, I don't even use my card, I don't even understand how that works. And if they can understand, hey, this is what you get, this is what you do to get there, and it's something that it shows a roadmap, like I said earlier, to get there, I think you're going to get more participation. As I always tell any client that I have in the casino industry, education isn't a bad thing for the player. You want to educate your player as much as possible, because the educated player is going to want to continue to play because they know what's around that next corner.
And of course, the other thing too, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier, is like, this is an actual cash value benefit, right? If you were paying resort fees before, $35, $45 per day, and you were going to Vegas and staying 4 or 5 nights, you now have $100 and something of value out of that tier that you didn't have before, right? And so, when some people think about the cost of getting the tier, now here's a value from having that tier, right? And that does sort of add something to it to make it more worthwhile for players who are like, why am I going to play to gold when I can just play to pearl? They took away my express comps bonus, or you're like, this is where they make up some ground, and this is where they sort of improve things in some ways.
No, it's a I've got more money to gamble now because I didn't have to pay the resort fees. I can boost one more time over to the slots before we go, honey. That's probably I'm triggered. that's why not? Wasn't that the whole essence of Vegas in the old days? Give him the $5 stake, get him in, let him play a little bit longer. And I really would like to see it kind of get back to that. And it kind of feels like, at least I'm going to do a glass half full on this one right now, because yes, the last time we recorded, I think I was half empty. So this is sounding a little bit better. Now, there's a couple of other things I really need you to get in on: the travel credit, and then of course the special appreciation events. So let's just touch on the appreciation events, and then you can get us on these on the travel credit. So I did see that gold and platinum now are going to qualify for special cardholder appreciation events. That's new, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's not a lot of details yet as to what that looks like, but if you look at, again, Caesars, which is sort of where some of these changes seem to be coming from in a lot of this, they would hold like a diamond appreciation day where there's a gift giveaway and things like that. And I expect that that's the idea, right? So like they'll invite gold members in and platinum members in on certain special dates, and they'll have certain benefits. There might be a dinner, things like that become available. So I expect that that's what it's going to look like, so they sort of, this is like a we appreciate you kind of thing, and just another way to show that they certainly appreciate those higher level players. And again, talking about sort of the lack of that in the pandemic, which a lot of people noticed, that sort of brings it back around and starts to put the customer service focus of things back into play, which I think is very smart. Now, there's also the tier appreciation dinners. The numbers I'm going to quote here, I have not personally seen in press releases or the marketing brochure, but it's floating around and also reported on websites that I trust. So I will go with that, but I want to just state that this is not something I have personally seen on the MLife stuff so far. So just there. So there is a celebration dining experience for gold that's worth $100. So that makes sense to me, given Caesars was $100 for their diamond celebration dinner. So that's very cool. And also, by the way, the resort fee waivers, that same source lists it for up to 2 rooms. So if you have a family and you're booking them into 2 rooms, Caesars only lets you do 1.
Only do 1. Yep.
So MGM is giving you 2. So those 2 specific details are ones, but
That's
the
hot.
actual existence of a celebration dining experience was in the press release. So I think this is realistically what's going to happen. So that's exciting. And those are, again, valuable things with specific, like now you can get $100 dinner for free sometime during your tier year when you make gold. So that's cool.
Let me tell you something. That $100 diamond celebration dinner that I would go down at AC and use every single year, I don't think I had a better tasting dinner than that free, at least the first $100 of the dinner, because you could do some damage, as you guys know. I was kind of like, I was going to cover the apps, but it was really nice. And it was really nice to always, kind of make the announcement, I'm using my celebration dinner tonight. And then, of course, the staff knows, and they put a little extra something on it for you. MGM Resorts is smart to mirror this promotion. And frankly, it does get people to get to at least to that 3rd level tier, because it is a nice benefit. And when we were doing a little bit of pre-show and we were talking about all of this, when you told me that, it's not just the appreciation dinners, that there is an appreciation events, there is also the ability to have a celebration dinner, the private thing with you and your family. That's bullseye right there.
Yeah, and it's just an additive, very wise. Yeah, I say it's very wise too, because it's one of those warm and fuzzy things. Like, you're going in, you have this, you're appreciative of them giving it to you. So again, I think this is building in some value to the program that didn't exist, right? Like, I always used to struggle. It's like, I liked MGM properties. I loved their offers, but I couldn't say, well, you want to be a gold tier, well, you get 20% more comps. But again, if you're having trouble spending the ones you have, and I've been in that position before, like, do I need 20% more? It's like, so, this is starting to fix some of those issues. One other thing on that list that comes from that source that, again, I couldn't verify, but I think is realistic, is gold members would have a complimentary enhanced room upgrade at check-in based on availability, such as a higher floor or a room with a view. Again, this is probably a neutral perk for some players, because some players get strip view offers, they get high floor offers. Suites tend to be on the upper floors because of their play. So if you're a gold player, you may already get these things. But if you're kind of in that middle zone where sometimes you get like good but not great, this could give you that occasional great. And we all know, like, when you get upgraded and you get this suddenly, like, when you walk in, you suddenly look and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't expect that kind of view. Like, my perfect example was when I got placed on the top floor of the Wynn one year, and I looked out and I was like, oh, and looked to the right, I can see the letters that are stuck to the Wynn building, like literally at my eye level. Like, that kind of stuff is just crazy cool, and it's hard to forget those types of experiences.
No, and God, I almost said the wrong thing. I almost got a little bit too up MGM's backside here, but I'm just going to say, good on you, MGM. Gold players have gotten junk for far too long from your program, and to see that you get a little upgrade, that's nice. Again, that's a step in the right direction. You're getting $100 celebration. You're getting an upgrade. Hey, now you feel like a VIP walking into an MGM facility instead of just like another guy or another girl, right?
Yep.
And I also want to bring up, gold is that level that you're able to trade and match into with the MGM program. And you and I, I'm sure we've done them in the past. We'll do them again, how you can get in MGM Gold really without doing a bunch of spending and gambling. And so if you match in, say, through Hyatt, you're going to match right into gold, and you're going to get all these benefits right off the bat.
And it's important to remember that the MGM national tier match program is still active till at least January 31st. So if you've been sitting on the sidelines and you have a higher card that's accepted, you have until the end of this month, and you'll be able to take advantage of the 2022 program, because the tier match will cover not just January, but the next year, right? So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Because there's no guarantee that they're going to extend the national program. Now, I know Springfield specifically was doing matching on their own at various points. Borgata definitely had a program for years. We don't know if those will come back, right? Because that was all pre-pandemic. So we're just going to have to see. But you have until the end of January under the existing national tier match program as it stands right now. They have not announced an extension. But and the other thing too, by the way, we've been talking a lot about Caesars. This complimentary room upgrade. So that reminds me of what Marriott does when you get to gold. And the reason why I say that is there's a few other things we're going to talk about in a moment that seems like they looked at the Marriott playbook as well. So they're kind of pulling from casino playbooks and they're pulling from hotel playbooks. I think that's very savvy, because most MGM properties, well, I guess I should say all MGM properties, they're not just casinos. They're resorts with hotels and spas and restaurants and all these other things, very similar to what you would find at high-end hotel properties. And so it does make sense that you would want to offer some of the hotel perks, so people feel like they would, like, I don't always stay at a casino. Sometimes I stay at a Marriott property, right? And so if those perks follow you into MGM, that's kind of nice too, and you'll feel more welcome.
Absolutely. I love tier matching. I love matching into programs. And listen, don't you want to feel a little bit special when you walk in somewhere? You want to, even the hotel programs, it might not be a casino, but you'd be surprised. You get the room upgrade, you get a little welcome stuff, you've got free internet. There's a lot of perks to these programs. And if you want to learn a little bit about them, Josh and I did our very first episode back in October last year, is up on in the menu at artinthegame.net. And also episode 80 is all about comparing the Mlife to Caesars programs. And a lot of that information came from Josh and I's episode. And we teach you how to kind of to match into these programs without, maybe spending all that much money out of your pocket. So, and like you're saying, like Josh says, you might not always be at a casino. Your family might want to do a vacation down to Florida or something. You can use that Hyatt and use some of your points. And with this new MGM rewards program, the money that you earn at Hyatt can also go towards, I think it would be your rewards points, wouldn't it?
So we didn't talk about that perk yet. So they've now linked the ability to stay in Hyatt but earn tier credits, not reward credits. So the thing I don't like about this is that it's the 4 tier credits per dollar, and there's no cash value. Tier credits have no monetary value; they're a scorecard. Whereas Hyatt points you can get free nights with, and so I don't particularly recommend that choice for people who stay in Hyatt a lot, because you would rather earn the free nights with Hyatt and use the points that way instead of putting it into a tier credit program to maybe tier up one, because tier does not determine what you get for offers. For instance, it only guarantees like, the $100 dinner, right? So this is where you need to do a little bit of homework. Like if you're going to be that close to gold and you're going to get access to no resort fees, $100 celebration dinners, all of these types of things, it might financially actually be worth it to do that over Hyatt, but you just need to understand what works best for you. It always comes back to what is your spending patterns? Where do you need the value to exist to get the most out of these programs?
And kind of circling back and bringing up the term tier, really, we're still a little foggy on this tier earn with this new MGM rewards program. We're pretty clear on the slot dollars. We're clear on the MGM reward points. But how many of those equivalent to tier? We haven't quite got to that yet, or am I wrong?
We don't know. So this is one of the most difficult changes, and this is actually the largest question mark I have out of this whole thing before we get back to what's in the tiers, because we still have.
I'm sorry I jump around, but you know what? This is like you and I talking at the bar, for crying out loud. We're just going at it.
We'll get to Platinum and Noir, and there's definitely some good things for them too, but it's going to be a little repetitive, so that's okay. This is more important for everybody. In 2019, they made a change, and they said, well, we're not going to tell you how you earn Express Comp dollars. We're just going to tell you that you earn Express Comps, right? So they used to be very explicit. Every $3 in coin in, you got 1 cent in Express Comps, and that was very clear. They did away with that, and so now it's a more opaque. You earn on some machines, on some games more than others. Someone who spent time sort of analyzing it basically said the higher house advantage on a game, so like a penny slot's going to give you more Express Comp dollars than say a dollar slot, because they don't earn as much money per dollar of coin in on a dollar slot versus a penny slot. So clearly it was a financial move. Then they did the same thing in points in October. So in October, they said, we're not going to tell you how quickly you earn points anymore. It's going to be based on gameplay time. So the same exact thing. And so now, unfortunately, they're going to do the same thing with tier credits. So you're going to earn tier credits as you play. You don't know how quickly you're going to earn them on any particular machine because they don't tell you. But when you pull your card out, you'll see the number update just like the points and the Express Comps do today. So you'll know where you are, but you won't know how much effort it takes to get to the next one. And the other thing is, we also know that like the non-gaming spend, you earned faster in Vegas than you did outside of Vegas. You earned 10 tier credits per dollar when you're playing. 10 tier credits per $3 on non-specialty slots, and 10 tier credits per $10 on specialty slots or video poker. And the same spend got you 2 tier credits in like Springfield, New Jersey, DC, etc. So the problem is, are they going to adopt the East Coast model for that in Vegas? Are they going to keep it different but not be as much? We don't know. And so it could become significantly harder even for the gamblers to hit their tiers if they knock those down, particularly in Vegas. I highly doubt they're going to knock them down much, if at all, in the properties they've already knocked it down to 2. They might actually give you a little more on the penny slots and a little less on the dollar slots to balance it out. But I have to, based on what they're doing today and the fact that the tiers themselves didn't change much, I would be very hard pressed to expect. So if you earn platinum on your spend in MGM Springfield on gambling mostly, I suspect you're going to be fine. But if you earned your platinum based on Vegas, you might have a little bit of it might get more difficult. That's my suspicion. But we won't know until this rolls out in February. We actually see what the reality of this is.
Okay. No, that's good. I can see that. I know a lot of folks take some business trips out to Vegas, get to write a lot of stuff off. Boy, they get a lot of nice, good points on the company, and this might change that for them. And I hope they find a way to still get the status that they deserve.
the years I earned gold, it's 80% of it was earned on the tier credits in Vegas because my money just goes 5 times further, right? I can take a $500 bankroll, for instance, and I can earn, 1,000 points in Springfield, just making up a number, or 5,000 points in Vegas, right? So it's like
Sure.
sometimes I would like starve my Springfield budget a little bit when I knew I was going to be going to Vegas because I knew I could just get more mileage out of it. And so, we'll see what happens in the changes. If it becomes equal, then, maybe Springfield becomes more attractive and you don't have to fly to Vegas anymore as often because it's just going to be the same. But yeah, so that's the biggest question mark I still personally have. But, again, January is the good news is if you're worried about that, your earnings for January counts for last year and this year.
And this
So
year,
you
yeah.
can get a head start. So if you do have a Vegas trip planned before January 31st, that's great. The other thing, and this is why I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen in the future, is they've also announced already a 2x tier credit earnings window in Vegas only,
Only,
February
yeah.
1st through April 30th. So if they are going to reduce the earnings rate in Vegas, how do they sort of take the edge off? Well, for 3 additional months, we'll give you a little bit more,
Yeah.
right? So that's a warning sign to me. But again, I'm not speaking with any definitive knowledge on this. I'm just reading the tea leaves and crossing my fingers like the rest of you.
No, and that's that's all we can do right now is just like putting our money in the slot machine. We think we might know, but it's really up to how it all turns out in the end.
It's a gamble, and they
What?
know it is, and we like gambling, unfortunately.
Hey, come on, it's fun. It's what brought us together. Let's talk about, I know I'm jumping around, but it's okay. We're keeping notes. Let's move back to these gold and platinum benefits that are rolling out. And one of the things we didn't really get a chance to talk about was this travel credit that's available to gold and to platinum.
Platinum and noir. So gold does not have a travel credit
Oh, the
at this
travel
time.
credit doesn't come to gold. It's only to the platinum and noir.
Yeah, and that makes sense because if you look at what Caesars did again, Caesars did it for their Diamond Elites, which is their 3rd tier diamond, and their 7 stars, right? So where platinum being sort of that version of their Diamond Elite is sort of the entry point, and the amounts is going to sound somewhat familiar as well. So first of all, platinum gets a $600 air travel credit to Las Vegas once a year for qualifying platinum members. So I think that you have to qualify for the tier. A tier match alone won't cut it. That's why they say
Right.
qualifying, which I think makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they're not
They
going to
did
just
the
give
same with the
$600.
cruises.
Yeah. Oh, and the cruise benefit, by the way, for platinum still exists. So I saw that
Okay.
on a list. So that's concrete. And again, a lot of the stuff that used to exist, I think, will still exist. They just haven't released the chart. But then also there's a $200 credit for platinum for their celebration dinner. So if it works like Caesars, you probably will get $100 at gold and then another $200 at platinum. So again, we'll see the final chart to confirm that. I don't think it's going to be 100 and 100, but we'll see. But that's so platinum's going to get another dinner. So that's great.
Hey, let me back up. If you are Pearl and you hit gold in the year, and then you get your $100 celebration, and then you hit platinum, you get a $200 celebration, and you get $300 in celebration dinners.
That's
1
the
year.
way it reads to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And then so that's the 2 big things with platinum, along with they sort of re-reference to cruise. And then once we get to noir, which is invite only, as you all know, it's the black card. It's the one that people sort of fantasize about.
Yeah, it's the elusive card that people really want. Before we jump into noir, there's one last thing too. The platinum has the advanced suite upgrade, which is one step higher. So you're going to actually get, you'll go from, instead of like the gold, you probably get like a more deluxe room, maybe a higher floor, maybe a better view. But this, you're going to get maybe that king suite.
But this is one of those things, again, I think they're borrowing from the Marriott playbook, which again I think is actually very savvy. So when you get to platinum with Marriott, you get a choice of benefits, and the default choice, and I just got platinum for 2022, which I haven't had in a couple years. So this is the first year I'm going to get to play with this. You get a certain number of what they call suite night credits. So basically you can apply them to nights that you want to get upgraded, and sort of basically if they can guarantee the upgrade, they will automatically apply it, as opposed to, that shaky if available upon check-in, right? So this is a bit more of a guarantee. And so you basically can assign it for the number of nights you have available. So they're saying 3. So if it works similarly, you basically would say in advance, I would like this to be upgraded using my Sweet Night credits. If they can apply it, they will use it. And if they can't, they'll just give them back to you and you can try again the next time. And so the nice thing about that is that, like, if you're going to do like a birthday trip and your offers aren't showing a suite, but you can guarantee it through this offer, this is just another way to reward the platinum members who got to that point and be able to take advantage of those things. So I think that's really cool. And actually, there's one more thing we didn't even talk about. Another thing from the Mario playbook, in fact, platinum players and above can have complimentary late checkout when available of 4 p.m.
Oh yeah, 4 p. I saw that 4 p.m. gang. Now, so okay, so let me ad lib on this one. So first, at first glance, right? Like I love it. I'm like, yeah, 4 p.m. That's really nice, right? Especially, you don't have to. Everybody hates waking up early and screaming out of the hotel room when you had a great night the night before. You know what I mean? It's
Especially 11 a.m. like most casinos have as their checkout time. That's just a brutal time. Like at least many hotels give you noon, but
yeah.
11 a.m. is tough, especially if you want to have a fun late night out.
But and here's the other side of it, right? I'm also the guy trying to check in with the early check-in, and I'm waiting for you to get the fuck out of the room. And you're there till like 4 o'clock, and I'm like, oh, give me my suite. I just want to get in and unpack and start playing. So it's kind of like it's going to be a real inventory conversation for the front desk.
Well, that's why they say when available, I'm sure they're counting very carefully and they're not going to allow more than a certain number. They also now on the mobile apps ask people when they're going to check in. So they have a lot more data at their disposal now than they used to. Like, and again, Marriott sort of led the way with that in their app. They ask people to check in up to 48 hours in advance. When are you going to arrive? So if you say you're going to arrive at 7 p.m., they probably can give someone a late checkout because they know you're not going to be there until 7.
Yeah.
That's plenty of time to clean the room, right? So this is where the sophistication of these systems really starts to play out. And so, we talk about data and how the casinos use data for a lot of different ways. This is one way where they can offer a benefit and they can actually leverage the data to their advantage, right? So, will this guarantee it? No, but will this give you a much better chance? Yeah, and that's really cool. And since it's a platinum perk, there's not I'm sure their platinum base is not nearly as large as even gold, right?
Sure.
So that means there'll be a limited number of people at any given time who want it.
And even if the desk says, "Hey, Mr. DiMauro, we can have you here till 1:30, or you can have the room till 2 o'clock." I mean, anything past noon to me is what I need, because I've had some late nights, and you never know how it goes. And I also have some early sessions too, and I need to unwind. So I like to have at least afternoon.
And I've never been shy about asking them to just use my Express Comms if they're going to charge me $30 to stay in the room till 1 p.m. and then just
Like, go
burn
ahead,
that off.
charge it.
Yeah, it's like, especially if I don't have other reasons to spend it. If I've spent my resort credit on food and I have plenty of Express Comms, sometimes I'll just eat that and just be done with it, because then you have it.
Yep.
So that's Platinum. Platinum's got quite a bit of new stuff in there. That's very exciting.
Yeah, you know what, you guys, I'm starting to get a little bit happy about this program. I mean, I'm not happy about the reduction in earn and the unclarity of tier earn, but as far as like the gimmies, right? Just like, what are you going to get when you get to the cards? So far, it's a lot better.
Yeah, they're making a lot of investment in some actual hard dollar costs that they would have to spend. Like dinner has an expense,
That's an exposure for them.
Yeah, resort fees not being paid has an expense. So, I again, they have to give and take and balance this out. So I think it's interesting how they're doing it, and we'll see, how this works out in practice. But so far, I think they're making a good faith effort to balance it out.
Josh, in Vegas, does MGM do what Caesars does, and they charge, unless you're a certain level of a card, you can't go to the pool. You got to pay to go to the pool. Do they do the same thing at MGM? And I've never been to the Vegas.
I've actually never used a pool in Las Vegas because I've had other priorities, but I know that like at Luxor and things like that, you just showed your room key. So I think you can pay to upgrade your experience, like if you're going to get like a cabana or things like that.
It always drove me nuts at Caesars with the 20. Like Atlantic City, you got to pay, if you're not Diamond, you have to pay $20 to go to their pool.
I think in Vegas, though, even Caesars doesn't charge like that anymore, but you get priority access if you're Diamond. So what they do is they basically you get a line cut with Diamond, whereas you don't with lower tiers. I don't think they charge necessarily that I know of.
Okay. God save the line cuts. I love line skips.
But Atlantic City's different because, like, for instance, the roof covering at the pool at Harris, for instance, is an advantage to to having a year-round pool and things like that. So I think they charge there purposely because it's more of a perk and a benefit, whereas a standard Vegas pool is outdoors, and so I think it's a little different.
All right, I don't want to get charged to go swimming if I'm staying at the resort and I'm paying a resort fee or they're getting waived. I just want to go to the pool, for crying out loud. It used to be the old days. That was like a benefit of staying in the room.
Oh yeah, now that I think about it, Bally's was doing that too. They were charging to access the spa area, but like just to go into the workout rooms and stuff like that. If you weren't Diamond, you had to pay. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. I completely forgot about that.
So let's dive into the very bougie, posh world of a noir player. What is new for my friends in the other world?
So as I said, this is.
And I'm just kidding around, you guys. I know I have some noir players. I like to bust your chops when I see it too.
So A lot of the same, but more. So, for instance, you now have a $1,200 travel credit to Las Vegas once per year as a qualifying Noir member. You have a $500 celebration dinner experience as a qualifying Noir player, and the other sort of guaranteed perk that they list here that I noted was complimentary transportation to and from the nearest airport with a hotel stay. Now, interesting, they don't say Vegas, so I wonder if that means like Bradley to Springfield, for instance. So that might be a way of getting their Noir players to check out some of their other resorts, travel to other places. So that's interesting.
It is my experience that Springfield does provide car service to even Platinum and Noir players who fly into BDL.
Yeah, so that might be a carryover bullet from the previous program. I honestly have never spent much time focusing on Noir because most of the people who read my site, and myself included, are not going to touch Noir anytime soon. But if you guys keep reading the site and looking at the ads on the site, then maybe in like
you're going to get there, buddy.
I'll get there. Yeah.
Hey, one day I'm going to host a very VIP weekend. It's going to be called Noir in a Weekend. And you're going to have to come with 6 figures, but we're going to rock and roll. But we're going to get to that one. That's a goal of mine.
I will mortgage everything I own, and maybe I have a fighting chance of getting to 6 figures.
God, no.
So, but yeah, so I mean, in balance, there's again a lot of new sort of guaranteed things here, and there's a couple of things that we didn't mention, I think is just worth mentioning. So one thing is they have is this Bet MGM app, which is their sports betting app. They are linking the programs together in the way that if you bet on sports using their app, you will earn your tier credits for MGM Rewards, and your bet spending, they say, on Bet MGM could lead to offers at MGM properties. So if you're more of a sports bettor, you might actually qualify for offers as well, depending on your volume. So that's interesting. And, I think that sort of expands the net of who they can bring, because maybe as a sports bettor, you want to go to Vegas and bet in the sports books and things like that.
Actually, I had it on my list. I wanted to make sure that we hit on it. So thank you, Josh, for bringing it up. I think it is interesting, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, sports betting, like here in Massachusetts, you're down in Connecticut. It's already legal. There's like a fury about it, right? It seems like there's a fever pitch, to use a sports term. Yep. And when it goes mobile, which is what BetMGM is. It's a mobile app that you can either do on your, as long as you're geographically in the state that it's legal and you have it on your phone, you're able to make your wager. And you also can go in to the actual brick and mortar casino and make your wager. And there probably is different incentives to come in and do it personally than do it over the phone. But to know that you're going to be able to earn, well, it looks like you're going to be able to earn, I don't know if it's going to be slot dollars or it's going to be reward points, but you're definitely going to be earning tier, and you're going to be earning some type of points through that at-home play. And also a lot of sports bettors aren't usual gamblers. I know a lot of people who they just bet sports. That's their thing. They really don't. They'll play a little blackjack with their buddies or some slots with their wife, but when it comes right down to it, they're betting their lines, and that's that. So I think it's going to bring more players into the program. And I think it's going to benefit those new players, and they might, and they're smart. MGM knows what they're doing. They're going to maybe get enticed to come in and maybe start, enjoying some of the other offerings that MGM Resorts has.
Yeah, and so I didn't mention the other, like the comp earnings, because it seemed like they might have their own bucket for the app.
Okay.
And so because I don't know that app very well, it's not available in Connecticut. I didn't want to speculate on that, but we'll know more details when we get to February, if you're earning specifically sports betting comp dollars that are for the sports betting app, or if it's going to broaden out and go into the buckets. Or maybe it's something that transitions over time, right? Like sometimes they can't roll all this out at once for technical reasons. So we'll see what happens. But they definitely confirmed tier credits. So that much we know as at this point.
I have some friends, and we both have some friends in Biloxi in the market down there, operators, and I guess MGM, the advertising campaign that they've got going on is nonstop, wall to wall on the radio. My buddies who work for a few other casinos down there, they're just like, I can't get away from the MGM commercials. They're nonstop, so they're aggressive about it, gang. The casino industry seems to be putting an awful lot of stake into sports betting and the future of sports betting, aligned with casino gambling. So we'll have to see how that all kind of turns out. I know here in New England, I'm sure it's going to turn out well. And, just New Jersey just last month, I think, had a record-breaking at-home sports betting season or month rather. So everybody wants, their eyes are on that money.
Absolutely. And that's pretty much it. The only other thing that I have in my notes is that they are going to update the app to reflect the rollout of the revised program. So we'll probably see a sort of an improvement in that UX and so forth, because every time they update the app, they've actually done a pretty good job of moving it forward. So I don't expect anything different here. So that's kind of where things lay. And the one big question is why now? And I think, this is not a topic we can dive into with given how we've already got an hour in. So I don't think we're going to be able to cover this on this particular episode, but it's definitely a topic that's worth discussing at some point together. Is that the competition's getting more fierce. So there we obviously know that Caesars is a national program. There's Penn Nationals program, which is my choice, which Plain Ridge Park, for those of you who are regional, is part of that program. And then there's obviously Boyd, which has mostly Vegas properties, but they do have other properties. But now Bally's, which is the old Twin River and is now rebranded as Bally's, they are buying up properties all over the place in Atlantic City, in Vegas, and so forth. And Hard Rock, they're in Atlantic City. They just bought a property in Vegas.
Yes.
And both of those companies are either currently or soon to be rolling out national programs. And so there will be a lot more competition, because if you are, for instance, an Atlantic City player, now that means MGM has a Vegas hook, Bally's has a Vegas hook, Caesars has a Vegas hook, Hard Rock has a Vegas hook, right? So Golden Nugget has a Vegas hook because they have a downtown property. So you have 5 different companies, each of which have a tie. So your comps carry over. You might get offers because of your play. And, so this is, and we're not even talking about things like Mohegan Sun, which is off strip, but they have a property that they now manage in Vegas, right? So I think that part of the reason why this change happened now is that they were able to get ahead of everybody else. They kind of can.
I'm sorry, I just cut you off. I'm so excited about it. No, please continue.
I was gonna say, I think that this gives them sort of a good message to tell this year, while people are looking at what's happening elsewhere and trying to figure out which program is right for them. I don't think they wanted to sit on the sidelines and wait for everybody else to roll out, and then hopefully, before they made the decision, bring out a program that can woo them back. I think instead they went pretty aggressive in balance, especially for those higher tier players. Now, again, we'll have to see how much gambling it takes to maintain those tiers, but if they don't mess with that too much, this might be they might keep their position in terms of being above Caesars and some of these other programs.
The landscape really has changed, at least, especially since I started podcasting. I got involved when MGM opened, right? And since MGM opened, things have changed dramatically inside of the casino industry landscape with these mergers and how things have, kind of blended together and things like that. And now all of a sudden a company has a much larger geographical reach with these feeder properties. So I think that it's interesting. And I like what you said. I think competition is good for the gambler. And frankly, I've been really down about the casino industry. And I think you know that from listening to my last show. And one of the reasons for that is that, knowing how COVID and knowing how the pandemic has hurt every single business in the United States or, the world, that I've always said since it started, it's going to take 2 years of normal business to be able to get these programs and to get businesses firing on the cylinders they were pre-pandemic. And we're not yet at that beginning of that 2-year normal. So I didn't have a lot of hope for the player in 2022 for a lot of benefits. And now to kind of hear and discover together here on this podcast that what's really occurring is because of this aggressive corporate merger culture that's occurring in the casino industry, and specifically here in the Northeast because of Hard Rock and a Bally's new expansion, we're actually seeing a little bit better, almost like a better forecast for our playing future here. Would you agree with me?
I would say overall that's true. And I think that, what's going to be part of the challenge for all of these operators is, let's say you were a Twin River player, and because Twin River didn't have any properties in Vegas, maybe you were an MLife player in Vegas. So now what happens when Twin River completes their acquisition of Tropicana, and you can now use your comp dollars and you enjoy your tier on the Las Vegas Strip? Do you stop patronizing MLife, or do you start going to Springfield because now you want to really go all in and take advantage of these perks that they're now offering? So this is part of what the shakeout is now going to be. Is there's probably going to be some reevaluation of loyalty. I know that the tree is being shaken really hard for Caesars players because of some of the cuts they've been making, taking away the lounges, taking away by the buffets, and saying sayonara. That's just, we don't want to lose money on these things anymore. And this really does open an opportunity for MLife and some of the others. And so I got to stop saying MLife because it's 3 more weeks and it's gone. But yeah, so I think that this is actually good for the player. And the other thing too is like none of this impacts the core offers that you receive for your gambling, right? These are all just
Yeah,
tier benefits. And so imagine now that you're getting your $100 resort credit or your $500 resort credit, whatever you play qualifies you for, and on top of that, you now get this reward celebration dinner, right? So do you now take $100 of your resort credit and go to the spa, right? Like it
right.
starts to open up the door where you just get a little bit more for your play, especially on those higher tiers. So I think it's really fascinating what they've done here, and I do think there's a lot of changes, but it's ultimately going to be good for the player. I will say, like, my MGM offers were never better for a good chunk of 2021, because I think they just got more aggressive there too, and so that was really cool to see. So yeah, I think this can all be very good for us.
One of the reasons that I got involved in all of this is I like to travel, and I remember, many, many, many years ago, getting the Harrah's credit card and going down that road, and the Total Rewards credit card after that, because I didn't want to lose my points. And basically, I remember telling my Uncle Dave, a long time ago, I look at my casino stuff as almost like a vacation club, because if I play it right, I almost earn my next vacation for free. And it was like that for quite a while, where every time I went to a Caesars property, whether it was Lake Tahoe or Caesars, everything was free. My food and beverage was my room service, my room or resort fees. I mean, that is kind of what I'm after. So when you start talking about these new casinos making these mergers, and all of a sudden, you're going to play in Rhode Island, but you now have access to somewhere coming up in Vegas, and my favorite place, Lake Tahoe. And then same thing with Hard Rock. You can be in Atlantic City. You could be down in that beautiful guitar tower down in Florida that Carol Ann McMaster, the slot whisperer, just got back from, or you can go out to, they're also, Hard Rock is also at Lake Tahoe. So you might really, as a regional Northeastern gambler, you might start to really pick and choose where you're going to be the most loyal based on where you want to visit.
Right. It used to be, as in New England in particular, that a lot of the places that you played, and there were exceptions, obviously, right? Because Encore does have a tie back to Wynn in Las Vegas. But again, that's only two properties, right? You have got Wynn Encore, and you've got Boston Harbor, and like nothing in between, right? And like, Plainridge Park was probably the closest thing until MGM opened, where you had more of a national link, right? Because Foxwoods doesn't have properties really anywhere else. They opened one like outside the US, but that's, they're way behind Mohegan. At least with Mohegan, they've got multiple properties, but each one of their properties has their own card. So yes, you have a momentum card in Las Vegas, but and they'll tier match, but you start with 0 points. So, you do have to earn the tier separately. And so, having these programs where playing across different properties and you can earn towards a universal tier and get universal perks is a big deal, and it does change the formula quite a bit. And I think it's no surprise that like properties like Foxwoods and Mohegan, you earn your comp dollars faster, and that's why because they don't have that ability to like give you something across the board, and that's probably why you've seen like MGM had no choice but to give you more comp dollars up in Springfield to compete against them. So hopefully that continues too, and we get to also take advantage of those types of things.
Hey, the forecast is looking pretty okay. At least I'm not like clenching my teeth anymore and biting my nails and starting to wonder if I want to go back. So this is starting to feel a little bit better, Josh. And you know what? You're right. We need to do another show together. Will you come back soon, and let's dive into Caesars, and really the one I'm getting hot for Hard Rock and Bally's. I want to learn all I can, because they're close by. I know I'm going to Atlantic City this summer, irrespective. We're making it to the boards, and I want to visit those properties. We need to further this conversation. Would you come back soon, Josh, and get us all in shape?
Absolutely. And the other thing that's kind of interesting, just to close that topic out for now, they have different approaches, right? And you and I talked about this offline. Going into a Hard Rock property, you have a pretty consistent feel. They invest in certain ways, and you have a certain outcome out of it. Going into an MGM property, they have a certain way that they build their properties, a certain way that they invest in them, and a certain sort of look and feel that they provide you, right? Like if you go into like Borgata, it feels really good, just like it would if you go into Beau Rivage, or if you go into Borgata, right? Or or MGM Harbor. And so, but Hard Rock takes more of kind of like a lively, very bright approach, right? So, and if you think about Hard Rock as a brand, it makes a lot of sense. So I think that's the other thing that's interesting, and we can talk a lot about that as we get into like what the differences are from that perspective when we get into that conversation next time. But yeah, let's definitely do that.
Listen, if we weren't at a minute 17 seconds, or excuse me, an hour 17 minutes, I would say, all right, let's start talking about Hard Rock, because I got a lot to share about Hard Rock. I like that casino. Oh my God, John, it is so nice. It's nice to be back, buddy. Thanks for saying that in the beginning of the podcast. Just this conversation, this back and forth, you and I, and not really being in the weeds of all of this player loyalties. I miss it. I love all this. What is the matter with us? I don't know. It's the gamification of our adult life, of ascending through these player tiers so we can, quite frankly, taste a lifestyle that maybe is just a little beyond our depth. And to me, that's just fine. That's what the casino is about. It's a fantasy. And a few times a year, I want to go away and be brought away from it all. You've got problems. I got problems. We don't want to hear about it. We just want to play.
Exactly. No, I agree with you. And you chose a good time to come back with all this news happening. So welcome back. It's really good to have you.
Oh, man, thank you so much. It is great to be back. I'm telling you, this is where I belong, behind the microphone, talking to pals like you and educating all of our friends and players so they can leverage their time and their money to have a better time, a more exciting vacation, even the next time around. Josh, this has been so great. Everybody, make sure, if you haven't already, follow knowyourslots.com and make sure you sign up for his emails that he sends out every day of all of his fantastic articles. And if you're not already following him on Twitter and in Facebook, make sure you go ahead and do so. And Josh, if people have questions, can they just go ahead and reach out to you on those channels?
Absolutely. So Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, the handle is Know Your Slots, all one word. There's also a contact form on my website. You can also leave a comment on an article if you have something specific around that. All of those ways will get to me. It's a one-man shop, just like Chris over here in Art in the Game. So all roads lead to me. And then I did want to say one thing. The newsletter is launching actually this year. I haven't actually officially launched it. It will be twice a month tops because I don't want to fill people's inbox with a lot of stuff. But if you want those daily updates, that's what the social's for. So I put up 2 tweets, two Facebook posts a day. So that's where you can get the sort of the daily feed if you want information on a regular basis.
No, that sounds good. I'm definitely going to sign up for that as soon as the email's available. And I check your Twitter all the time. So that's how I met you. That's how I stay informed on all the slots that I'm trying to play and trying to get some of my money back on. So definitely a great way. If you have a question about a slot machine, you go to knowyourslots.com, put it in the search button, type it in. I bet you Josh probably got 2 or 3 articles written about that slot sitting there waiting for you to learn about it. So, buddy, I'll say thanks again, pal. Thanks so much for coming back and visiting with us on Art in the Game.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. And I want to thank all of you for sticking around to the end of episode 88. Make sure you go ahead and follow Josh on knowyourslots.com, an absolutely fantastic resource for all your slot information and casino information. And while you're at it, go ahead and make sure you follow him on Instagram and Twitter and all the other social feeds. And since you're going to be on Instagram and Twitter, don't forget to follow Art in the Game. We are on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Make sure if you're not already a member of the private community, ask to be a member and we will get you in. And most importantly, just wrapping this up, I cannot wait to keep listening to all of your messages. Call the AITG player hotline at 413-285-2211. Leave us your stories, your trip reports, your reviews, your well wishes, whatever your questions. We'll get them answered. And we may even play your segment on a future podcast here at Art in the Game. And if you're enjoying this content and you're enjoying all the information, you're having a lot of fun on the podcast, go ahead and go over to artinthegame.net and click contribute to the Art in the Game podcast. Right there, you can make a financial contribution of any size, any time interval. Do it once a year, once a month, every time I do a show. Every single contribution is appreciated. And I got to tell you, thank everybody who has already hit that button so far. God bless you. It's going to make all these productions even better. All right. So on behalf of Joshua O'Connell at Know Your Slots and Chris DiMauro here at Art in the Game, we are wishing you all great luck, players.